Welcome to Galactic Daily News in what's going to turn out to be the evening edition by the time I get it up. Had some problems with iMovie. It kept stalling and not wanting to do anything. So I downloaded, since I have the Adobe subscription, I downloaded Premiere Pro. So we're going to try and use that. Also found out that I use Photo Booth. It's a Mac app that comes with the Mac computers. I use that to film these segments, and I found that anytime you use anything other than the built-in camera, it seems to screw with the audio-video sync. So I was trying to use the little webcam that I bought a couple years back, so I could maybe get a different point of view for the segments, and it turns out that just as with using the blue ball microphone, it doesn't work so well. So anyway, what's been going on since the morning? Groceries came, and I brought those in and then put them away, and then had to sit down and rest for 10-15 minutes. Then I did some dishes. After doing that, I again had to sit down and rest for 10 or 15 minutes. I really hate that. I hate not being able to do all the things that I used to do without having to take a nap afterwards. Oh, and I also took a nap for about an hour and a half. In between trying to create these videos, I've been watching more of The Sopranos. I'm at the episode where Tony's son learns about the fact that his dad's a gangster. I haven't finished watching that one yet, so no spoilers. The kid goes out and caps a gangbanger to prove he's enough of a gangster. I don't want to know. Had breakfast and lunch. Breakfast was cereal, lunch was a ham and cheese sandwich. One of the other issues that I have is that with swelling that goes on in my legs, it makes it difficult to walk. I can walk. It's something I can do, but I always at least start out walking like an old man because my legs get stiff. Other parts of me swell too, not the good parts, sadly, but that's another issue. My fingers, I can feel it in. But the worst part is my legs, especially my lower legs. Gravity draws all the excess liquid down to there. So even sitting, my feet and ankles swell, which is another reason why I take frequent naps, because at least then, they are horizontal and the swelling goes down. But yeah, I walk around like an old man, which I hate. After a while, the pressure of the muscles moving and everything, the swelling does go down, and I start to walk in a more normal manner. Go lay down. Lay down. That's a good one. Again, my talking, he seems to think I'm talking to him. But yeah, after walking for a little while, the swelling goes down from the muscle movement. It just kind of pushes the liquid back upwards, and I walk in a more normal manner. But it's going to be a while before I'm totally walking normally. Running, I don't think I could run more than 10 steps without collapsing. Lay down. Lay down. Good boy. Yeah, I don't think I could run very far without collapsing at all. A year and a half ago, I guess it was, I bought a bicycle because I figured, I could use that to get some exercise. I wanted to get some exercise because I knew back then I was losing muscle tone from not moving around. I took it out a couple of times, rode it around the parking lot next door, and it felt great while I was doing it. But I would ride it for about maybe 5-10 minutes, and then again, I would have to get off and sit down on the pavement and catch my breath um, because I was out of energy. Just totally out of energy. So the bicycle's been sitting in the garage. I really should bring it inside here, but it's been sitting in the garage. I'm collecting dust and spider webs, I'm sure. So there's that. So I know I promised you guys a health hazard segment, and as well I also did a political points segment. So we're going to try and get both of those in here to the early evening edition of Galactic Daily News. I did the health hazard I did because I promised you guys I would. And the political points I did because of Robert Mueller's press conference, his statement regarding the special counsel's investigation, and I wanted you guys to get my POV on that. So let's go and do the health hazards segment. So here we go. Hello! For today's health hazard segment, we're going to talk about restless leg syndrome, or as I call it now, restless limb syndrome. It is a symptom of kidney failure, and let me tell you about it. So, around the time that I first noticed that I was getting more and more easily fatigued, I also noticed that when I tried to go to sleep, something weird was happening with my legs. Now, a lot of people, including me, get what I call the sleep jerk. That just about the time you're fading off into sleep, all of a sudden your body does that. Generally happens only once per night. You jerk, and then you can go to sleep. Restless leg is a bit different than that. So here, so let me try and give you an example of what it's like. Find yourself a chair that doesn't move easily and face it against the wall. Sit in the chair and then take one of your legs and push against the wall as hard as you can. That feeling, that pressure in your leg, because it's pushing but it can't go anywhere, that's exactly what restless leg syndrome feels like. Okay, you've got that pressure, and the only way to relieve it is to move your leg. It generally only happens when you're trying to go to sleep, at least for me. When I was working at the call center, it would happen a couple of times if I'm tired and sitting like in a meeting or something like that. Since a lot of times I was walking around the call center, it didn't happen a lot, but somebody would call a meeting, I'd go in, I'd sit down, and all of a sudden I've got this pressure in my legs, especially if I'm tired. So, of course, when I started seeing the nephrologist, I told her about this, and she said, yeah, it sounds like you've got restless leg syndrome. She prescribed a drug called ropinirole for me. And for a while, that helped. But what I found is that after a week or so, the ropinirole would lose its efficacy. And with the nephrologist's permission, I would end up taking more and more of it. Because apparently ropinirole is one of those things you can take a whole lot of, and it doesn't really bother you at all. But it stopped helping the restless leg syndrome. So at that point, she prescribed gabapentin, also known as Neurontin. And that seemed to help as well. That helped the restless leg syndrome. But again, it would lose its efficacy, and I ended up taking more and more. Here, gabapentin. Nice. So I ended up taking 400 milligrams a night, which is about as much as you can safely take of gabapentin. And what I found is that it would work for a while, and then again stop working. So what I would do, and the nephrologist backed me up on this, is I would take it and then stop taking it. What she called a little medicine vacation. So stop taking it for a couple of weeks and then start taking it again, and it would start helping again. And I got into a cycle, and I'm still in the cycle, where I would take the 400 milligrams. That would help the RLS for a few days, and it would start to wear off and wear off. And then about a week later, I would take it again, and that seems to help. And during the time I started taking the gabapentin, the RLS actually evolved on me. No longer did I feel that pressure in my legs that would only be solved by moving the legs, but I would just simply twitch, which is why I now call it RLS, restless limb syndrome, because I would lay there in bed and either my legs or my arm, my head sometimes, would just simply twitch. This didn't stop me from going to sleep as much as the original symptoms did. It did slow it down. So, yeah, and what I found is the gabapentin didn't actually cure this symptom, didn't stop this symptom, but it just helped me go to sleep easier. And of course, it made me loopy for the next couple of days. And by loopy, I mean dizzy, lightheaded, that type of thing. Now, when I was in the hospital, they were giving me 400 milligram pills of gabapentin every night. And I knew this, but I didn't put two and two together because I couldn't figure out why, whenever I had the energy to get up and walk around, which I did often in the hospital, my balance was off terribly. I would go out into to the nurse's station or to their break station where they had coffee and whatnot, and yeah, my balance was terribly off, and I felt lightheaded. And then I realized it's because they were giving me 400 milligrams of gabapentin every night. The good part is it did help me get to sleep, so we got that going for us, which is nice. So I've still got it, the restless leg syndrome. I asked the doctor at one point, what causes that? Is there something specific that some chemical in my system that I'm missing or have too much of? And I found out apparently there's not been a lot of research into the actual causes of restless leg syndrome. So if there's something in my system that my kidneys aren't clearing out because they're dead, or if there's not enough something in my system that the kidneys are supposed to produce, whatever it is, they really haven't looked into the causes of it. Apparently it's not that big a deal to them. There are all sorts of products you can get on the market to help with the restless leg syndrome. A friend of mine recommended a mattress pad that apparently vibrates at a certain frequency that's supposed to help. And I looked into getting that originally when I had it, when I first got the symptoms. But, God, it's expensive. It was like close to $400 for the damn thing. Now, apparently, it's covered by Medicare. So when my Medicare insurance kicks in, I could, if I can get my doctor to write a script for it, then I could probably get it for free. But that hasn't happened yet. So we'll see what happens when I get the Medicare. So that's restless leg syndrome. That's the one of my major symptoms of kidney disease. Other than the kidneys being dead, and the general lethargy and all of that good stuff. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Hope that was educational, and I'll see you next time on Health Hazards. So that's Health Hazards for today. I'm talking to you about restless leg syndrome. I hope it was, at the very least, a little bit educational. And I hope that if you know somebody else besides me who has that, you'll have a little empathy for them because it is a real thing. Some people don't think it is. Some people think it's all made up, but no, it's a real thing. And so now having done that, we'll go ahead and do our political points segment. So let's get started on that. So I just watched Robert Mueller hold his press conference regarding the findings of the special counsel's report. And I'm going to give you my take on what he said. Basically what he said was that wasn't that they didn't find evidence of collusion between the office of the president or Donald Trump himself and the Russians. But what he said is that, according to the Constitution, you cannot charge a sitting president with crimes. Or at least the Justice Department can. So he specifically avoided saying the president was innocent of anything. So my take on this is that they found evidence, some sort of evidence of collusion or obstruction. Go lay down. Go lay down. Good boy. They found some sort of evidence of collusion or obstruction, or both. But they can't act on it because Trump is still president. They can indict co-conspirators. So anybody else in the president's office that was involved in this, they can indict. Whether they will or not remains to be seen. That's up to the Attorney General. Now, I don't know whether Congress...
It's 11:30.
Thank you, dear. Whether Congress can bring action against the president. They haven't yet, which tells me that there's not enough in the report for them to do so. Now, he also said that the underlying documents and findings that brought them to their conclusions, whether or not those are going to be released is being decided by somebody other than the special counsel's office. So I'm assuming that's the AG. Whether or not he'll release those or bring action because of those remains to be seen. And again, what Congress is going to do is up in the air. The fact that they haven't yet brought any charges against the president for any findings in the Mueller report tells me that there's not enough in there for them to do so, because Congress, especially the Democrats, are eager to get Trump out of office by any means possible. So, in conclusion, the only reason, apparently, they haven't charged President Trump with any crimes is because it's against the Constitution to do so. Now, what happens when he gets out of office, that's something else entirely. Congress could still impeach him, and they want to. Or at least they did. Nancy Pelosi seems to be flip-flopping on the issue. But they haven't yet. They haven't started any proceedings yet, even after the Mueller report came out. So there's not enough evidence in the Mueller report to even impeach him at this point, is what I'm thinking. Now, when they get into the underlying documents and findings, that could be a different story. But at the moment, there's nothing they can do. And again, Mueller specifically avoided saying the president is innocent of anything. So we've got to remember that. He did not say that. He did not. He specifically avoided saying that. He did say that there's just, they can't charge a sitting president. Now, if Trump loses this election, he could be charged. If Trump wins this election, they'll have to wait another 4 years. So we'll see what happens there. So that's my findings. Basically, the only reason that Trump was in charge is because he's a sitting president, and they can't do that according to the Constitution. Whether Congress can do something or will do something remains to be seen, depending on their findings, I believe, in the underlying documents of the report. So that's it. That's your political point for today. Hope that, cleared some things up, made some things better understandable for you. And I'll see you all later. So there you go. My thoughts on the Robert Mueller press conference, and the things he was saying and the things he wasn't saying. So we got that going for us, which is nice. As you can see, I'm drinking a Sunkist soda. When I ordered groceries, I ordered 4 12-packs of soda. Sunkist Orange, Sunkist Grape, A&W Root Beer, and what was the other one? I can't remember the other one, but I'm sure I will as soon as I go to the refrigerator and see it sitting there. Having a refrigerator full of different sodas always reminds me of my Aunt Mary's house. Aunt Mary was my grandmother's sister. And for years, she had a refrigerator in her pantry. She had a rather large pantry in her house. She lived just outside of Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. And for years, she had a refrigerator in her pantry that was filled with different kinds of soda. And it was always kind of like a treasure hunt. You go and you'd ask, "Oh, can I get a soda?" And she'd say yes. And you'd go back to the refrigerator and paw through all the different kinds to find one that you really, really liked. I mean, it was soda. So, being a 12, 13, 15-year-old kid, it didn't matter really to me what kind it was. But you always wanted to find your favorite. My favorite was always Coca-Cola. But Mary often wouldn't buy Coca-Cola because since it was a premium soda, it was more expensive than the rest. But she would buy other things like RC Cola, or my second favorite cola was CNC Cola, which you can't find around here. I think you can order it online, but I just haven't had enough interest in it to do so. But I always like CNC Cola. It tasted just a little different than Coke, but it still tasted good. So, anyway, I think that's enough jibber jabber for now. I'm going to see if I can work this in the Adobe Premiere Pro program, and hopefully have this up very shortly. So, y'all have a good day.